I can, yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, Walt, how you doing?
Hey, good you.
Well, hanging in there. Just wanted to ask you a little bit about Sabrina, how she's done so far. I mean, and this is like her debut. It's one of the most highly anticipated debuts. It's not when you thought it was going to be, but what you're expecting, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, I think she goes about her business in a way that's pretty special for somebody who's, like you said, she's so highly touted. She truly doesn't think of herself that way. And it's not just lip service. I mean, she walks the walk too. I think in terms of from our end, what I expect or what I'm looking forward to with her, it's really just her getting to go out and play and not feel, there's enough pressure coming from the media and from the fans and social media and all that stuff, and not even intentional pressure necessarily. It's just people being excited, but that care, you have to carry that weight, and she does that really well. So from our end, it's mainly we're just trying to put her in a position to feel comfortable and get out there and get reps and work through mistakes and not feel like we have extremely high expectations. It's really just a matter of go out there and do what you've been doing, do what you've done your whole life. And, I'm not really big on expectations anyway. So she's no exception to that. I think it's just a matter of letting her get in there and get her feet wet and kind of enjoy the moment. You only get to do that once. So pretty special time.
Thank you.
You got it.
Next, we'll go to Jackie Powell.
Hey, Walt. So I wanted to ask you all about how the scrimmage against the Mystics went yesterday. What did you learn about the Liberty, and what did you also learn about the Mystics?
The Mystics they're well coached. They run their sets like they've been running them for a long time. Even with new players, some of the new players, some old faces, some new. They're just a solid team. It's the mark of a well-coached team that they, after a short time, they run all their stuff well. Their defense looks like it's set in place. As far as our group, we learned a lot in terms of where we're at with our offense and defense. We created a lot of the shots we want to create, and our defense yielded a lot of the shots that we wanted it to. So it was heartening. On our end, we've gone back and we've watched the scrimmage a few times as a coaching staff, and I think some of the players have gotten on and watched it too. And we discussed some of the statistics from the game, and it was a really positive experience. I'd say top to bottom. We talked, we fought. It was physical. In a good way. It was everybody was excited to be out there playing against somebody but themselves, and it was really fun. I think our players had a lot of fun and we bonded, and I know I had fun coaching. So it was all positive.
Great, thank you.
You got it.
Sarah Valenzuela.
Hey again. Hopefully you are staying significantly cooler than it is in my very tiny hot apartment. So now that you guys are 4 days away from opening the season, how are you guys feeling as a team? And has there been any pressure in the sense that you guys are kind of like the start to basketball coming back in general? How have you guys been feeling around all that?
Yeah, I think it's really just a take it a day at a time situation, just like anything else. Like I said, there's pressure kind of baked into being that first game that's kind of unavoidable. We're playing against arguably the best team in the league. And I think that it's going to be something where we enter there like, hey, let's see where we're at. Let's go out there and compete our butts off, and let's stay together. Let's go out and try to win, and I think a combination of those things, focus on the growth, focus on the competition, focus on the things that we can control, and kind of let the chips fall where they may.
Gotcha. One really quick follow-up. Since this is going to be your first official game as the head coach of the Liberty, what's been I know you said you're going to take it day by day, but what's been your preparation method heading into that?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, thinking about substitutions, thinking about how many minutes we want to ideally get each player, who do we want to play with each other. We've gotten to see a ton of different lineup combinations as we've gone through training camp, to see chemistry, see who just kind of gels with other people. So that's one of the things I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of late game situations, timeouts, things like that really I've never been charged with being in control of. And so it's going to be a learning process for me too. And so I have to enter it with the same mindset. I'm as guilty as anyone of going into something and wanting myself to be perfect right out the gate. And it's just not how it works. There's going to be my speed bumps too. So, I've been working on drawing up plays. I've been working on, I have spatial difficulties. I always have. So I have to spend extra time memorizing things and practicing them when it comes to drawing up plays. It's a funny little quirk I have. So if there's anything that, gives me anxiety about my own performance, it'd be that stuff. So, all I can do is put the time in to prepare and learn from my mistakes.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jeff Magliochetti.
Hey, Walt, thanks for joining us again. My question concerns Kia Stokes and how she's been working her way into the lineup. She's almost, for lack of a better term, almost like a seventh rookie in the sense that she comes back with an entirely new system, an entirely new team in a way. So how has Kia Stokes developed during her time back, and how vital is she going to be for this team for such an unusual 2020 season?
Yeah, I wouldn't think of her remotely as a seventh rookie. I get what you're saying. I understand the logic there, but she does not look, act, think like a rookie in any way. Yeah, she's a vet. I mean, she's a young vet again, but she's been through the wars. She's played in the playoffs and played significant minutes. Made big shots, big defensive stops. I mean, she's been through this thing. So she doesn't look surprised or uncomfortable, really, in spite of the fact that we have her doing things that aren't what she's always done, kind of throughout her career, to my knowledge. So she's been fantastic, really, in every way. She's led in the ways that I think are appropriate, and if it's leading by example, or if it's leading vocally, or if it's putting her arm around a player and teaching them something, or if it's even just asking questions is a big way to model leadership, because sometimes younger players don't know if they should ask questions, and that's she's done a good job being a good teammate and a good leader in that regard. So no, Stokes is an important piece for us this year.
Thank you, Coach.
You got it.
James Clark.
Hi, Coach. I'm going to actually jump back a little bit and want to ask you some questions about how you ended up with the youngest team in history and the most rookies there's ever been. I know some of it wasn't planned because you had kind of a core of international players, but how much going into this did you think we're going to kind of clean house and rely on a lot of rookies, and how much of it was just the result of this funny year? Is that a sensible question?
Yeah, it is. I'd say it's a combination, like you probably expected. The circumstance with having players for multiple reasons, all justified, not want to report or feel comfortable reporting, or not being able to report, for that matter. In some ways, it made it easy because we genuinely wanted all the people that we picked. We would have traded those picks if we didn't. We targeted the exact people that we got. It was kind of an amazing thing from the few drafts I've been a part of. It just normally doesn't work like that, especially, I've never been a part of a draft where I have a million picks like we did this past draft. But to be able to nail every single one and get them and then plus one, kind of, because we weren't sure if we were going to be able to make the draft day trade that we did that was able to net us both Megan and Jocelyn. So yeah, it's not exactly, I think, probably what we pictured, because of the fact that we would have had some of those other players in the mix, and we would have had a chance to have a training camp and kind of see who gelled and who stood out. And I'm really thankful, to be honest, because we get to get a full look at all of these players in this unique season, and none of them is disappointed. they all have moments of absolute brilliance, and we're excited about every single one of them. They're bought in, and they're working, and they're listening. And, you know, we've talked to some of them about talking more. And today we came out, and people were a little tired from long, you know, kind of grueling days of lifting and practicing and coming back for shooting and scrimmaging yesterday. And you could tell they were tired, but they didn't show it, if that makes sense. Like, I could see that they were tired, but they talked, they fought through it. We took a big step today.
I know we started a little late, everyone, so I'm going to go ahead and take one last question for Coach from Paul Santopani.
Hey, Coach. Paul Santopani with the Step Back. Good seeing you again.
Hey, Paul.
The New York media is notoriously impatient and critical. How are you advising the team to deal with all that?
Yeah, my dad being from New York, you know, he had some words for me before I came, and just, you know, to trust our vision, you know, and to be prepared for critics. And I think, yeah, the New York media has been great so far, to be honest. Everyone's been wonderful. And I've been warned about that, you know, by other people through comments like this. But really, it's about focusing on what we can control, right? And the media and people having opinions and wondering about things. It's been happening since I was hired, and it happened on draft day. And it's happened, I see people picking us last, and that are the best we could possibly hope for is to not finish last this year, you know. And you internalize it, you use it what you can, and you get rid of the rest. And sometimes that's a challenge, you know. If I'm tired and I'm frustrated, and one of those things, you know, gets whispered in my ear, then, you know, I might not take it as well. But it's just stuff that we're all learning. You know, I'm young, and I still have my things that I'm trying to work on. That's one of them. It's just understanding that everybody's just doing their job. It's not anything personal ever. So I think, you know, they'll follow my lead in that regard. And if I take that stuff too seriously, then they will. And if I don't, then they probably won't. And so that's one of my goals, is to model behavior that I think is best for them, for their own, you know, mental health and their own ability to stay locked in on the things that really matter. And, you know, I understand why people would be critical, and it's up to us to, you know, go out there and handle business, and maybe we can prove them wrong.
Thanks, Coach.
Get started. So we're going to start with Jackie Powell.
Hey, Kia. Hope all is well. I want to ask you a little bit about how it's been to run an offense with Jocelyn Willoughby. You said on Kicking It with Kia that you were really excited to do so. So how has it been going?
Good. Obviously, I think Jocelyn's a quick learner. She's a logical thinker. She's rational in what she's doing. And I think she's had a lot of experience basketball-wise. So she's playing really well within our offense, making reads. And with that basketball IQ, it's been really, really good.
Thanks so much.
Holly Rowe.
Hello, I have two questions for you. My first is, hi.
Hey.
I know you spent a lot of your college and professional career here in the United States, but being from Canada, what is the social justice movement like there? And what are some of the issues that you're focusing on from that standpoint, being a Canadian?
Yeah, it's pretty similar into, you know, what's going on here. I think obviously with the death of George Floyd, there's been a lot more conversations about inequality and systemic racism and social issues in general. And that conversation is continuing into Canada as well. I think there's been a lot of conversation around the fact that, unlike America, sometimes when it's really blatantly in your face on video, on social media, in Canada, there's a lot of people who have dealt with a ton of microaggressions, minor things where people, when they make a statement, probably don't think it offends someone else. And I think there's been an education around that as well. And a lot of conversation actually about the Aboriginal community within Canada, the Indigenous people, the treatment of them, and then also the treatment, obviously, of Black people and other people of color. So there's been protests. There's been a lot of conversation around those different things. I think the Raptors indeed are continuing to help push that message forward. And we're doing the best that we can. So with me, it's the same thing. Living in both countries is a really unique situation, but trying to really voice my opinion on different things and voice what needs to change both in the Canadian side of sport and diversity there, and our Canadian contingency, as well as what goes on in America.
Beautiful, thank you. And then my question from a basketball standpoint, this is such a new group of players. I just wondered what your first couple of days on the floor have been like and how the scrimmages have gone, where you've had moments where you're like, oh, okay, or, oh, okay, just give me like a feel.
I would definitely say there's been more moments where I was like, oh, okay. And I think that's something that's really obviously good for us. We are really young. I think that's something that this bubble maybe is good for them in the sense that it's like coming from college and going back into college and being able to kind of maneuver that. But I think what's really interesting about how Coach Walt and the staff is working with things right now is that we're treating them right away like they're professionals, because there's so many of them, and we can't just kind of allow them to have those kind of rookie days. So they've done an amazing job. They've been fearless in what they wanted to do and stepped up. Their talk has continued to grow. So I think the scrimmages have gone well. There's a lot of aha moments. I think our defense is looking really good, and they've got a lot of energy. So they talk, they're outgoing, they're great people, and it's really been fun to really bring them over to New York Liberty.
Awesome, thank you.
Miles Ditcher.
Hey, Kia, I hope you're doing well. I was just wondering if you could sort of describe what your average day has been like down in Florida and what's been most surprising about the bubble environment.
Typically, the schedule changes daily, but we usually have, one practice a day now. We were in 2-a-days for a little bit. We're just starting to kind of get into the one practice as we get closer to the games, from like 1 to 4. And then we have optional lifts in the morning and you get tested. So then beyond that, it's really up to you. So I live in a lodge with Kia Stokes and Amanda Dibee. We've gotten into a couple of content things that we're going to bring out. We've had the rookies coming over and hanging out with us as well. And then you're really just riding your bike around campus. I think that's the one thing that's surprising me, is the bike riding. At first I was like, oh, I haven't ridden a bike in years. This will be fun. And now I'm like, it's hot and I'm tired all the time and I don't need this extra workout.
Thank you.
Jeff Magliochetti.
Hi, Kia. Jeff Magliochetti with Winsider, Empire Sports Media, and Nets Republic. Thank you for joining us. What's been like having Kia Stokes back in the locker room after your rookie season together?
It's been great to have Stokes back. Obviously, I was fortunate enough to spend a year with her in Connecticut and then have some more time with her here. But I think she's continued to grow as a basketball player. She's continued to grow off the court. She's somebody who is fun-loving. She's got a lot of energy. She loves to help people out whenever they're in tough situations. So I've had a lot of fun. I mean, she might tell you otherwise about me, but I like her.
And we're about a couple weeks into the bubble proceedings. How have you embraced the role as a bit of a de facto team leader at this point?
Yeah, this baby bet thing that people are deciding. I think it's been really, really fun to be a part of this. And every year, every team that I've played on, whether it be here or overseas, I feel like there's been a lot of change and there's been a lot of different role changes for me personally. So I've kind of embraced it as another challenge, another thing that I get to try to conquer as the season goes on. But I try to do a lot through example, lead by example, make sure I'm sprinting before I ask anybody else to sprint down the court, make sure that I can help these guys out with the little intricacies of the game and the things that I've learned being around so many vets in my career. They're also young and they don't know a ton about personnel. I'm sure they've seen a lot of WNBA players on TV, but sometimes you're not paying attention to, tendencies and whatnot. So trying to give them little tidbits here and there for, scouting purposes. And they ask questions. So they're pretty good about that. So I give them any answers I can give them, I try to help with.
Terrific. Thank you, Kia.
Paul Santopani.
Hey, Kia. Paul Santopani with the Step Back. Obviously, the COVID and the bubble have presented challenges and a shortened season. What are you hoping to accomplish this year?
Well, I think like anybody else, we're coming in here to win, right? And we want to play games because we love the sport. We haven't played it in a while. But for us, especially with New York and being such a new team, with the new coaching staff as well, we're coming in to really kind of prove people wrong and prove people with what we can do and who we have, the talent that we have, the depth that we have. So we're excited, obviously trying to win games. So I think anybody lied to you if they say they were just here to have fun.
Thanks, Kia.
James Clark.
Hi, Kia. Jim Clark from Women's Hoops World. I want to go back to the baby vet thing. I mean, you've got 2 years in the league. how much are you like ignoring the 2 years and taking that kind of leadership role, maybe a disciplinary role, and how much are you just letting it be by example? I mean, I've saw you for 4 years at UConn, so I know what your example looks like. What are your other leadership skills look like now with this?
Well, what's interesting with me and my career is I got pulled up to the Olympic team when I was 16 years old. So there was really this big gap between me and the players my age. And as I continue to go, I've been with them now for like 8 years. And I'm still technically like the 4th youngest on the team, but I'm a vet because I've been there forever. So I've started to really learn and understand, even at UConn when I started in my freshman year, to become kind of this like bridge person. And it looks the same pretty much here. Obviously, Leja, Kia, and Amanda take a lot of the leadership and the talking and the vocal side of it. And then I'm kind of the in-between. I understand the importance of really having that disciplinary action as well. But I also understand when you're young, you have to try and figure it out. And sometimes you have to find your way, especially when there's a gap in age or there's a gap in experience. So for me, I've always learned one of the big things from UConn was when we were at the Final Four, coach always said, like, focus on basketball when it's time to focus on basketball, and then be a kid the rest of the time. Like, enjoy it, take in the experience. And I think that's something that's really big with sports nowadays is like everybody's just saying, be focused, do this, go to every trainer. You have to do specialization. Like, you don't experience any of the fun. So I just try to help them understand that it's okay that when we are hanging out at night playing Uno or spades, like, hang out, have fun, get to know each other. Don't worry about a split screen or a quick screen, and really just enjoy this experience because you don't know how many years you're going to get in a WNBA league.
Sarah Valenzuela.
Hey again.
Hey.
So the first time we spoke, we were still in the middle of the pandemic and you were still in Canada, comfy at home. From then up until now that we're 4 days away from opening the season with you guys first up, going up on a national broadcast, what's that feeling been like, just building up to that kind of excitement and knowing like you went from a point where your season, your indefinite off season was kind of just like, well, this is it. And now you're so close.
Yeah, it's definitely been a slow build up. I feel like we've been in this bubble for 3 years and it's like day 15. But I think it's been something that's really exciting just in the sense of for the last 2 months, it was just me and my trainer in the gym and no one else. And now we've moved back into practices, we've moved back into scrimmages against people who don't actually know our plays. Like, that stuff is really exciting to me, and to be able to bring back sports, especially on the women's side as well. I know soccer's going right now, but women's basketball, to bring it back, I think that's really exciting for everybody to be able to watch that, and for all of the people who have continued to put in the work so that we could have this bubble and have the opportunity to play at the league. But all the players, I know firsthand how tough COVID was for everybody, leaving leagues, going back home, having to live with people we haven't lived with in a while, and really finding ways to stay in shape. And it's really inspiring to be around so many different women who are powerful, who are resilient. You know, you're riding your bike, you're waving at people from other teams. And I think that's really amazing. So I'm very excited to get back on the court and bring women's basketball back to TV.
Really quick follow-up question. How are you more excited, anxious, or just in that competitive drive to see your former UConn teammate, Breanna Stewart, back on a court?
Yeah, obviously I'm super excited for Stewie to be back on the WNBA stage. I think what she's continued to do with her career, not only on the court, but off the court as well, and how much notoriety she's brought to our game and how many fans she's brought to our game, the way she holds herself, the humility that she holds herself with. I think she's an absolutely incredible person, and I'm excited to see her on the court. I hope she doesn't have like that amazing of a game the first game. She can have one later, but we're gonna have our hands full with her for sure.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you, Kia. We will have the video footage to you all later today. And please be on the lookout for the rest of the week's availability as well. Thank you.